Ladies and gentlemen, our next panel is Young Global Leaders and Entrepreneurs Opportunities and Risk for Young Entrepreneurs in Global Economic Uncertainty. Our keynote speaker is Mr. Ali bin Salah Shaim, Chairman of the National Committee of Young Businessmen Council of Saudi Chambers. The stage is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody. It's been 4 hours now in Istanbul. Enjoying it, and my younger daughter is having really fun this morning. She didn't sleep in the airplane. She was very excited that she's coming to Istanbul because her friends also in Istanbul. So she's just trying or making notes and sitting in corners and asking me to take photos. So when she goes back home, she will show her friends that she have been in Istanbul and she had really good 4 hours yet or already. Yes, I have been told to speak about the opportunities and risks for young entrepreneurs in the global economy uncertainty. I'm sure I have nothing more to add that you already don't know. Everybody's suffering everywhere in the world. And the World Bank have stated, I think, yes, the World Bank have set the points or pinpointed that entrepreneurship is a critical part of economic development and economic growth. So it's the main pillar that the whole world is a main solution for the global economic growth. I had a really interactive presentation, but unfortunately we couldn't play it, so we'll go with a static one. And I want to start with a decline. I'm trying to just go with an overview of the global economy. We are seeing growth rates dropping, collapse of world stock market. Everywhere we see red. It's rare to see any green nowadays. Greece have also set a mark in the global economy. Elevated economic losses in areas of conflict, wars, that's draining up the economies. Also economic burdens of countries receiving refugees, like Turkey, for example. That's all will take us, all this, mess will guide us into opportunities. So bad days for somebody will reflect really good market for others or will raise an opportunities for others. Now, the whole investment map in the world has been restructured, changed, and opening new ideas or new ways for entrepreneurs to start their own ventures. So that will lead to opportunities suitable for new startups. Second, increased viable workforce. I started with the second one. Increased viable workforce, that when major companies lay off highly skilled individuals, startups take them in a really discounted price. For example, a really skilled person in IT or in nanotechnology working for a major company getting so much money. If the companies change or cancel their future expansion or projects, or that will leave this individual into the market for cheaper prices. And also the low cost of technology. Major companies, again, when the market is really down, they cancel certain production lines, or they do not invest in or do not pay higher prices. So demand for larger companies investing in high tech or will decrease the demand. So that will lead to reducing the cost of acquiring technologies for their projects. Again, that also leads to the consumption pattern changes. When we are in an economic downturn, people tend to change their behaviors. Today, if I have good income, I will spend more, and I will tend to spend more on luxury items or items that mainly accessories, not essentials or basics. When an economic downturn happens, people tend to focus on basics. So they will not be paying for services that they will not be needing. So that's an opportunity for startups to arise. Then young startups will work creatively to attract businesses. They are young, they are small, they are easy to maneuver, and will develop new innovative ideas to acquire customer base. So normally, a downturn always will be a very good opportunity for small companies or startups to grow. Then we'll move to a successful mergers. Most companies, either startups or younger in age, will tend to merge with others to get more market shares and also to reduce capital expenses. For example, they will be sharing one accountant instead of everyone having an accountant. That will reduce their cost and give them more exposure to the market or the market share. This is all good things, and all these are opportunities. We have also risks. Economic downturn is eating the growth across the board and hurting everybody. Purchasing power is also evaporating from the market. That we have to pay attention to, because also that's a main leader of the risk reducing of major projects by governments. Governments and large companies tend to be the main driver for startups to start, and also for small and medium companies to grow and continue producing in the economy. Again, when we have the major or topping up all problems is the funding restrictions. Whenever we have an economic downturn, we will have funding restrictions. Banks will be afraid. Banks will always ask for so many collaterals in order to give you a small amount of money. Again, we will be concluding with establishment of a startup in a difficult economic circumstances does not guarantee a startup business to fail. Again, the same thing or exactly the opposite. Establishment of a startup during a favorable economic circumstances does not guarantee a startup success too. So it's all depends on the individual, the entrepreneur himself. The most important factor toward entrepreneurs' success is their personality, vision, management efficiently. People, if they manage their cash flow, manage their production line, manage their expenses, they tend to have more success factors or success opportunity or percentage than others. So that's the key continuity, or that's the key that constitute real difference in success of younger entrepreneurs. John F. Kennedy says when written in Chinese, the word crisis, it's composed of two characters. It represents danger and it represents opportunity too. So that will guide us to opportunities versus risk. We have just to understand our surrounding, environment and be gracious and pay attention to small details around us. And good luck to everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to our keynote speaker, Mr. Ali bin Salah Kahim. May I please now kindly invite Mr. Ercan Engin, President EN Group, for his speech. Thank you.
Değerli katılımcılar, hepinize iyi günler diliyorum, iyi seminerler, zirveler. En Grup şirketleri olarak müteahhit bir firmayız. Ben 95 yılında iş hayatına başladım, 2005'te kurdum. En Petrol ve En Grup şirketleri. Kuzey Irak'ta büyük bir petrol işi tamamladım. Sonra şu anda Kazakistan'da 3 tane şantiyem var. Yine Irak'ta, Bejli'de elektrik santrali rehabilitasyonu işi yapıyorum. Ve Mali'de sosyal konutlar yapıyoruz. Bu işlerin yanında bir de ACRP ilaç diye TÜBİTAK içerisinde bir firmaya yatırım yaptım. Ve bu firma olarak tüm dünyanın aradığı bir ilaç bulduk. 35 tane profesörümüz var. Profesör Doktor Faruk Erzengin hocamız, Bilim Kurulu Başkanı, şeker ve kalp hastalarının aradığı, onların damarlarını açan bir bitkisel karışım diyelim. Bununla ilgili milyar dolarlara ulaşacak bir yatırım olduğunu düşünüyorum. Bu konuları bahsetmek istemiştim. Bana ayrılan süre bu kadar. Teşekkür ederim.
Biz teşekkür ediyoruz açılış konuşmalarını yapan değerli konuşmacılarımıza. We'd like to thank our keynote speakers and kick off this panel. We'll be discussing young entrepreneurship under uncertainty. Well, is there ever certainty in entrepreneurship? Is maybe something to ask. How do you go from zero to hero? There are always interesting statistics. There are always colorful examples when we talk about entrepreneurship around the world. A few things to remember, maybe at this point. Henry Ford failed 3 times before he set up a motor shop. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter was actually turned down 12 times before it became a bestseller. Bill Gates failed before he founded Microsoft. And of course, Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for TV. Well, thank God I wasn't told that. So, the last colorful example I have for you today is from Brian Acton. He was rejected when he applied to a job at Facebook. So he said, why don't I just found my own company? He founded WhatsApp, which Facebook bought for $19 billion within 5 years frame. Not bad, I think. So let's just try to figure out how a young person, like you just mentioned, Ali, actually, who goes from a good job with a good salary at JP Morgan, for example, and set up shop to inspire other young people to become entrepreneurs. How do you do it? Why do you do it? Why don't you tell us?
If you don't mind, I'm going to be standing up. Thank you very much. First, I would like to thank the organizing team of ICP and also Mr. Hussam Abou Issa for inviting me today. It's such an honor for me to be here. I would like to start this short presentation with an inspiring story of an entrepreneur I met a few weeks ago, and it really inspired me. The story of Muhid Al-Trad. Muhid Al-Trad grew up in the desert in Syria. His mother passed away shortly after his birth, and his brother was massacred by his father in the desert. Raised by his grandmother, he had to hide to go to school. But nevertheless, he managed to become one of the best of his class. So he managed to obtain a scholarship to study in France. But when I talk about scholarship, it was $20 a month to pay for the rent, for the food, and for everything else. All this without speaking one word of French. But you know what? He never gave up. After graduation, he started working for a private company. He spotted an opportunity to acquire a scaffold company. Wait 1 second. 1 second, please. Okay. An opportunity to acquire a scaffold company that was going bankrupt. Then he managed to make it profitable. And with these profits, he invested in another company, then another company, then another one. Today, his company, the Altrad Group, employs more than 17,000 people across the globe with an annual turnover of $1.8 billion. He received a few months ago the award of the World Entrepreneur of the Year. And he's one of the many role models coming from the region that I've interviewed who achieved excellence with positive values of perseverance, commitment, and above all, humility. Now, what's the problem? The problem is that we don't know him. From the region, we all know Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Zuckerberg. We don't know the role models who achieved excellence coming from the same backgrounds. And the worst thing is that the youth don't know about them. So how do you want young entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs to believe in themselves when they don't see that there are some role models? It's tough, right? And actually it starts from high school. My mother was a teacher in a school for underprivileged in Morocco. And she used to tell me that the kids now don't want to go to class anymore. When they come, they don't bring their notebooks, their pens, they lost hope. And many of them join criminal organizations and they stop believing in themselves because they don't have hope and they don't see that they can achieve excellence. Well, this is why I decided to quit my job and to create this non-for-profit. So I've met and interviewed more than 75 amazing role models in different, let me see, all right, okay, in different parts of the world. The idea was to show and inspire the younger generations with positive role models they can refer to. So we have entrepreneurs, thinkers, researchers, all those who have achieved excellence with positive values. But more importantly, it's not about inspiring, it's about empowering the youth. And empowering and helping them build the skills they need to serve themselves. Because you know what? Out of all these interviews, I've realized there's a common pattern, somehow a secret sauce to achieve excellence. Something very simple, but we never teach at school and no one knows about. So I'll try to share that with you. The first thing is that all those achievers who achieved excellence did it because they had a vision and a purpose that's strongly aligned with their own personal stories. What does it mean? We all have unique stories. This is what makes us unique. But we put this story aside and we do our job, or we go create a company. But those achievers actually leveraged the story. And actually the story was a quest for their purpose that defines the vision and fuels the drive. And you know when you talk to them, they don't talk with the head, they talk with the heart. That's much more powerful, much more compelling. They know who they are, where they are going, and this is key. You know, when we work with a lot of incubators in the region, and they all know what they're doing. You know, the entrepreneurs, they know what they're doing, they know the products, they know the value proposition, how they're doing it. But they don't know why. And this is key because if you don't know why you're creating your venture, it's as if you go into your car, turn on your GPS, but you have nowhere to go. Simply useless. So in my opinion, this is why many incubators and programs in the region are not succeeding as much because they focus more on the how and the what. How to reach, how to build a business plan, how to get your first client. We're not helping the entrepreneurs define and articulate the vision. Because what do I insist in this point? Because a vision aligned with your own story is the key to trigger passion. And we all know that passion is one of the most powerful tools to achieve excellence. It's not only powerful to go beyond your limits and to be committed, but it's also very powerful to convince investors, clients, and potential people to work with you. Without passion, you won't be able to work 100 hours a week to achieve your goals, and you won't be able to overcome challenges. At the first failure, you're going to give up. But this is very important. you have a vision, you have a purpose, you're passionate, but you need to take action. When I say take action, it's not getting an MBA or going for an incubator. When I say taking action, a young person has to be proactive and responsible of building his own future, meaning building the skills he needs, technical, emotional skills, creating a network, and more than that, work on his career roadmap. Because one of the things I noticed interviewing these role models is that they never wait for the opportunity to be given to them. They went and grabbed it. And this is what makes all the difference. And one of the things is that before, skilling was the responsibility of school. You get a job, a degree, then you get a job and you get a future. Well, now it's not the case. Now we have hundreds of thousands of new graduates every year, and governments cannot guarantee to absorb these jobs. So youth will need to become the architect of their own dream and their own future and build the skills they need if they want to achieve. Knowing that 50% of today's grad school students will end up doing jobs that haven't been invented yet, and maybe doing 5 or 6 of them throughout their lives. You cannot be prepared for that, and school cannot teach you that. You have to do it yourself. Especially that now we have MOOCs, online courses that makes it available for everybody. This is what we do with Arab Excellence. We believe that the only way to empower the youth is to give them the means and the tools to empower themselves. So we developed a new methodology that has been really successful so far, that starts with first inspirational elements. We reach directly to the heart of the young people and show them that if there are role models that did it, you can do it too. Then we go for diagnosis. We have them define who they are, where they want to go, and what are the skills they need to bridge the gap. Then they work on the career roadmap and the vision roadmap, how to set goals on the short, mid, long-term term, and how to develop a strategy to achieve that. And of course, how to create a pool of mentors and network that can help you. Finally, we help with technical and emotional skills, and we do mentor matching with the relevant mentors. Of course, all of these things are based on real-life examples of achievers. It's not theory. It's not telling you things that don't exist. It's about showing you the examples and best practices of achievers. We did this for INSEAD, developed a new program for them, for 50 students, and the result was mind-blowing, which is young students standing up and say, this is my dream, this is my future, and these are the steps I need to undertake to achieve that. Very powerful. So now we're replicating this for 700 young people, privileged and underprivileged, aspiring entrepreneurs, but also younger than that. But at the same time, we help these young entrepreneurs to, and also the role models, we showcase them throughout events such as Stanford that we organized to show the best of our region and show something new and fresh, something we need to showcase. We did also at the United Nations the same, and more importantly, we're creating a vision and a movement. It's not about doing it alone as a small program. So this is where we partner with key organizations that believe in the same mission, like Salam International, Abrash Group, but also Stanford at INSEAD, to really share and develop a movement in the region. I'm going to finish this presentation with an inspiring quote that says, if you don't build a dream, someone else will hire you to build his own. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your inspiring speech, Hamza. And of course, Turkey has been an interesting platform this year to discuss different ideas by young entrepreneurs. We have hosted the G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance as well. So I'm sure there are very interesting stories that came out of there that could be inspiring to all of us. Başak Hanım is with us to share.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to start with thanking organizers of this summit. In harmony with aim of the summit, terms sustainability, they are going on organizing this summit every year. This is the 6th time, so this is a sustainable organization for Turkey. So thanks to all of them, and thanks for inviting us as well. Young entrepreneurship is a very key issue, and it's very important that at Bosphorus Summit, we can discuss about this as well, all together. And we have a young profile here, experienced profile. I'm sure there will be interesting key points to share with all of you. We are talking about some numbers since yesterday, since the opening of the summit, talking about access to food, access to energy, electricity, how we can distribute income in a much more fair style. We are talking about all of these. And we, as TÜGİAD and as young entrepreneurs of Turkey, see young entrepreneurship as the key, as one of the key solutions for this income distribution, especially, and to support growth and to support youth employment. When we look at some global numbers, sometimes we see problems regarding interest rates, growth numbers, or youth unemployment issue. And we always recommend that all the countries, not only G20, also the other countries, should come together, have some common policies, and do something for the world. But we are talking, we listen to numbers, and we are talking about millions and sometimes billions of people to support. So this is a huge task, to have a much more fair world. We cannot say that only the states can have this responsibility, since this is very huge. But the states can have commitment, can create the related atmosphere, can support, and young people also can bring some solutions. So maybe young people and young entrepreneurs can solve the youth employment problem. 2015 was a very critical year, especially for Turkey, because Turkey was president of G20, all that political atmosphere, and had all the B20 presidency, think tanks, civil society organizations, all of them. It was a very tough, hard-working year, in fact, for everyone, because in Turkey, almost many related think tanks and organizations and bureaucracy and political leaders were involved in G20 meetings. And Turkey had three important principles and said that we will have three priorities. It will be inclusiveness, implementation, and also investment. Investment for sustainable development, for a better world. Implementation means that legislation and policies is not enough. We have to implement, not say something, also do something. And inclusiveness. We have almost around 200 countries over the world, but G20 is constituted of just 20. So we have to think about all the rest of the world also. If we are much more developed, if we have better policies, then we should share both know-how and also income. According to these priorities, our institution, Young Businessmen Association of Turkey, which is a 30-year association of businessmen, was also leading the G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance. This is a global network. We have our counterparts dealing with entrepreneurship and business world, but young business world, and trying to create new policies and solutions, mainly for growth and youth employment. So in this term, during 2015, we also, again in harmony with inclusiveness, tried to create some new policies and tried to lobby for young entrepreneurs' priorities. We prepared some reports. We worked with Business 20 side, the big business side, and try to make them focus on entrepreneurship and SMEs also. In Turkey's G20 presidency, it was the first time we had a task force called as Entrepreneurship and SMEs. This was very important. It was highlighted all year. And also, like mentioned yesterday, Turkey established a World SME Forum, which is a sustainable network, again, for all the SMEs of the world. And it will be organized and coordinated with Turkey. And at the end, when we look at the declaration that political leaders could sign in November, we see that young entrepreneurship was mentioned in a very strong way as a solution for youth employment, and the political leaders of G20 network promised to support young entrepreneurship. This was very important for us. This is the general and abstract commitment of political leaders, and now it's again our turn to follow this, to have some concrete measures in all these countries, and also in order to go beyond the G20 as well. From our side, there were more specific measures, and for the next year, 2016, until the China presidency, the China summit, we will be following whether we can create a specific visa program for entrepreneurs, how we can develop more concrete measures for access to funding for entrepreneurs, how we can have a better education and skills management in Turkey and in other G20 countries altogether, beginning at maybe primary school at early age, how we can support research regarding youth employment and young entrepreneurship in all these countries, and digital economy as one of the keywords, and we will try to develop relations between SMEs, entrepreneurs, and big, large global companies to work together to understand each other's. So when we discuss about this state side, there are some commitments and developing policies. This is a new trend for the last few years. When we started talking about entrepreneurship strongly after 2009 crisis, because the leaders and the business world saw that young entrepreneurship can create a key solution for our employment problem. And we are trying to use this wind and trying to make it much more stronger. But at the same time, maybe we have to mention that this is not only the political leaders or bureaucracy's work. They have to create that atmosphere, but state and individuals, I believe that, have mutual responsibilities. You can have the legislation, you can have the coordination mechanisms, you can provide funding and maybe education, but what about entrepreneurship side? Entrepreneurship side is not related to just having your own business. Everybody can have his or her own business. It is also related to innovation, to say something new, to show and implement something new, whether in production, whether in process, whether in marketing, whatever you think. So the beginning point is idea, a new approach, but also this one is not enough by itself. You need to have a project approach as an entrepreneur. You need to follow, you need to find the necessities. You need to put on paper. You need communication. You need presentation skills, how to persuade the funders, and you need leadership and team management. And of course, general management capacities. So, as TÜGİAD, while we are working to get support of our government and bureaucracy for young entrepreneurs, on the other side of the mirror, we are also trying to support entrepreneurs to have better works, better business, to develop more, to have global branding, global trademarks. So, G20 presidency was a big luck for Turkey, if you talk about only Turkey. For our entrepreneurs also, it opened a new window in Turkey, a new vision, brought a new vision, but at the same time, it was a promise of 20 highest leaders. So now it's our turn. It's our turn how to develop this, how to follow these promises, and how to make these much more concrete in Turkey, in both G20, and how to go beyond of G20 altogether. Thank you.
You kicked off your discussion actually by saying access to energy. So I want to have more access to energy at this point because we have Timur in the house today. We're lucky enough to be able to hear his experiences on how to turn uncertainties within energy sector globally, how to use them to our advantage, how to make them opportunities instead of risks. Let's hear it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So, my name is Timur Topalgachi, and I'm an energy economist. So I look at the energy sector, and I thought, since I'm the only speaker here coming from the energy sector, I'll provide you with a big picture about how the energy system works and where precisely young leaders and young entrepreneurs can come into the picture. Because it's a very big value chain, and my aim in the next 8 to 9 minutes is to quickly picture you this. So as Hamza has said, passion is absolutely key. And I'm very lucky to say that energy is my passion every day. And I basically spend my time trying to understand how it works today and how it will look like tomorrow, in order to also grasp opportunities where we can come in and, with an entrepreneurial state of mind, become active. So just a very quick, if the slides work, I'll provide to give you a very quick snapshot, because entrepreneurship and becoming active always looks at the tomorrow, how we can change the world. But it's absolutely important that before you think about tomorrow, you understand how today actually works. And so my aim is to just provide you with a very quick outlook to the energy picture today, how it looks like. So just very quickly, the key trends by fuel. Why are we using the fuels that we use today? The key trends by region. Where is demand actually coming from? Why is it moving into these directions? Because this will be absolutely essential in making you understand where the opportunities lie for change. But demand growth is not the whole story. Energy efficiency is actually a point that I would like to mention here, because effectively it's the other side of the coin. So either we do things in a new way with new technologies, or we do the things that we already do in a more efficient way. There's another problem. There's lots of problems in the uncertainty, as the chair has mentioned. In the energy world, we act in a climate-constrained world. We cannot continue doing the things the way we've been doing them, on and expect nothing to change. So this is the entire point about the 2 degrees Celsius, while we're warming up the planet as we're using fossil fuels, etc., in the combustion. So this is why I'd like to mention quickly the role of renewables and energy efficiency as part of this framework in addressing climate change and the energy needs and development. So this is also very crucial to the very topic of this conference, which touches upon sustainability. And as you know, there is no development, no transportation, none of the lives that we're living here without energy. And so, of course, the crucial question begs, how much does it cost and where are the investment flows going? So this is also an absolutely key point in order to identify where entrepreneurship opportunities arise and where the big money flows are going. And then I'd like to just, at the third point, say energy is here to stay. You and I and him and her, we're all here to use it. So how can we do it better? Where do we come in terms of changing things? And so what I'd like to highlight here is, while in the long term, energy is a technology-driven field. So the revolution will come via advances in, say, battery storage technologies, our ability to produce hydrogen at a very less energy-intensive manner, etc. But these are still very far away, although incredible progresses have been made. And so the point is, how can we address the energy world in the short term? And surprisingly, and I'm very glad to say, there are means to address them. So this is why I'd like to highlight technology and innovation particularly as key enabling factors here, and at the same time push forward a case for behavioral change. And in today's world of the 21st century, our ability to actually design systems that will make us use energy in a different way than we have in the past. So now a very quick look. I thought I'd just draw a picture. It's actually like a painting. I've used different colors here to show you what our primary energy demand looked like yesterday, today, and is likely to look tomorrow. So basically oil is still the #1 primary fuel that we're using. This is at the basis of our transportation. This is at the basis of a lot of refined products that we're wearing and using every day. Coal is still the cheapest and most accessible fuel, and the one that has enabled millions, hundreds of millions of people to come out of poverty and have access to energy. But it happens to be the most polluting as well. And the rise that you see in the 2000s is basically mainly driven by Chinese economic growth. Natural gas, another fossil fuel, actually the cleanest, or I should say the least dirty of the fossil fuels, plays a crucial role because it segments through the sector, so it can be used in transportation and in power generation, but also for other purposes. And here renewables come in. Renewables come in at the lower picture, but they're rising pretty steadily, and nuclear has always provided us with important baseload power generation. So how is this going to look like in the future? This is what we project. So oil remains the #1 fuel, although its growth is hampered. Coal continues to remain strong, but also hampered, especially because when China is moving away from the heavy industrialized growth model to alternatives, and India actually comes into the picture as the largest energy demand growth. So they're still using coal to get 250 million people out of poverty. Natural gas has incredibly strong growth because as a transition fuel. But here, the story I'd like to highlight are renewables. Renewables actually see the highest share of growth, and they meet over 35% of the total growth of energy demand that we see in the next 25 years. And they're driven by support mechanisms and policies, which also play a crucial role in entrepreneurial context. Nuclear energy continues to be important, but it has a less strong growth trajectory. So that was what's going on. Now it's where it's going on. The regions in blue that you see are the OECD countries, so the so-called industrialized and the developed countries, to which Turkey also belongs to. They are actually becoming more energy efficient, and so their energy consumption of primary energy demand is actually decreasing by some 3%. So where's the growth coming? And you may have guessed it. In about 25 years, we expect China to have approximately twice the energy demand of the United States. India comes into the picture, and Southeast Asia, so you see the segmentation here by those 3 main regions. And the rest of the energy demand growth comes from the Middle East, Africa, Latin America, and also Eurasia, something closely more than half of the growth of non-OECD. So this is absolutely important to see how the picture evolves and where the opportunities arise. But as I mentioned earlier, so fossil fuels play a significant role. Even in 2040, we still see around a 25% share of each of the fossil fuels. This is not sustainable in a climate way. And this is why I'd like to highlight to you the International Energy Agency. I live in Paris, and currently in Paris, we're in the final stages world leaders are in the final stages of debating a climate report in order to address a succession treaty to the Kyoto Protocol to limit the worldwide emissions of greenhouse gases to such a level that we would be limiting the temperature increases to 2 degrees Celsius. So scientists from the IPCC have calculated the available budget of CO2 that Mother Nature has given to us. So this is the equivalent of the atmospheric concentration of greenhouse gases that would lead to 2 degrees Celsius increase of temperature. And this doesn't mean take off your jacket. It means rising sea levels and pushing hundreds of other millions of people into poverty and displacement. So of that budget, which is around 2,300 gigatons, it's not important now, let's not talk about the metrics, already half of it is used over the last century. So we've already cut half of our budget. And we actually see in the way that we are using energy today, we are basically going to finish up this budget over the next 25 years. So something's got to change, something has to give in. And so we've calculated what would be required, the amount of investment that would be required to curtail this. And the reason why I highlight energy efficiency here is because basically half of our potential to reduce greenhouse gases would come from energy efficiency and renewables. In 2013, we estimate that something around $400 billion has been spent on these low carbon technologies. In our central scenario that sees a 2 degrees Celsius limitation of the temperature rise, has this to more than double to 900 billion. This is where we're going to. This is the share of where we're going. But in order to reach the goal that was set by the leaders and that they're trying to discuss this week, we need to quadruple this effort to something close to 1.6 trillion, and this is over the next 25 years in technologies that address a reduction of emissions. So this is the big picture in which we take place. So these investment flows are very important because I'd like to highlight 2 issues. One is technology that enables here massive gains, and the second is this new way of thinking, and this is what I'm going to conclude on the talk. So the good news is we have massive increases in technology efficiencies. So technology is key, as I mentioned, in the energy world. And we project cost reductions, especially in renewable energy technologies and efficiencies that reach up to 50% in the next 25 years. So it's just basically your potential to replace your existing portfolio of appliances, etc., and become approximately 45% more efficient. So oil and gas has also significant gains, but they switch to more geologically and technically challenging areas, so they also have strong upsides to the cost. So the reason why I mentioned this is because it's good news for entrepreneurs to come in, and in the solar PV market, for example, modular installation costs, material costs, all these will play in our favor, so lots of opportunities for us to excel here. The second is the behavior that I mentioned. What is very important here is that we realize, we've estimated that around 2/3 of our potential energy efficiency savings is unmet today. And it scales up, you know, as you have logistical chains coming up, as you have transportation sector. So in the industry, heavy industries, the way we use heat, electricity. And one way of addressing it precisely is by addressing the low-hanging fruits. And I'd like to highlight 3 examples here. One is from a small country you've all heard about, Switzerland. Yes, they're very efficient.
Briefly.
Yes, they're very efficient. And they've actually managed to have significant consumer awareness campaigns, because this is where it starts. This is where you start to switch the way you perceive energy. The second example I wanted to mention is, looking ahead, we have new challenges and especially new opportunities coming into play. And this comes from the very technologies that we're using. If I did a quick show of hands, I would imagine 99%, if not 100% of the people present in this room would have connected devices, a cell phone or more. And so this is the way, this is the path we're on. We're going with an exponential growth to network devices, and they will go mainstream even more, an estimated 50 billion devices to be connected in the next 10 years. And so there are tremendous opportunities, and I've been working on this also on the startup front, of how we can design systems, because research has shown that people are willing to invest in systems that increase their comfort, which at the same time would reduce the energy consumption and make us more energy efficient. So this is a point I'd like to highlight, and I'll be very happy to talk about it in more details. So just to conclude now, to wrap up the thoughts, what is important is to understand tomorrow's energy system, we need to understand how it works today. We live in a climate-constrained world, and within this, the investment flows are going to create opportunities in new areas versus others. So it's absolutely key to understanding where these are. Significant gains can already be achieved by just using existing technologies that are much more efficient, and not expecting now absolutely new innovations that will come, which will come, but I'm just saying in case of already existing technologies, the gains that we have. And energy efficiency and behavior change are 2 of the key points that would enable you to make this. And for that, we need to change the way we perceive energy, away from the view of it just being a commodity that is sold and at a price that fluctuates on exchanges, but as rather a package of services that can increase your comfort and that can increase all our lives. And I'd like to finish here with a short quote by one of the most famous people in history, Albert Einstein, who, according to me, exemplifies in this sentence the crux of the problem that we have at stake. We cannot solve the problems that we currently have by using the same kind of thinking that actually we had when we created them. And so this is why I would invite everybody also to be open to unconventional resources, to unconventional ways of thinking, in order to find unconventional and new solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your very detailed presentation. Of course, Akfen also has exposure to energy, but of course the energy that you bring to the business as a second generation must be important. Can you tell us more about your entrepreneurship experience?
Sure, thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here. I guess every second generation has to be an entrepreneur. As Darwin said, it's the survival of the fittest. So our mission is a little bit more different than the first generation. But before I talk about the energy I bring into the company, I'd like to tell you about the company first. Akfen is a holding group that has a couple of different subsidiaries underneath, starting from the airports, TAV airports. So if you've landed to the Atatürk airport this morning, I see that there are loads of tourists in the room. We've already got your pocket money, sorry about that. If you have used the sea ferries from this side to the other side, the sea ferry transportation is also within our companies. We have a seaport in Mersin. We do have an energy portfolio as well, including renewable energy, coal, and CCTG. Apart from that, Novotels and Ibis hotels, I wonder if any of you are staying in the Novotel in Istanbul here today. And we have a construction business as well, which is part of second generation duties, actually. This is Akfen Holding. And in 2016, it will have 40 years. So my dad has been working on this for 40 years. And now he's ready to pass it on to us. Our mission, though, as young generation, is slightly different. We're not playing for growth. We're playing for maintenance and sustainability. Because, as you can imagine, we cannot do any better than this. He's already done enough. So our mission for this is playing about perception management of the stakeholders, to get to know our stakeholders better and to understand our customers. Because what we can do different is to innovate and to be an entrepreneur for today's conditions. And to be able to understand that, we need to understand the needs of today. We're not only talking about the company's necessities or the company itself, because company has already a branded name. So for second generation, it's more important about one's own branding, one's own surname and one's own name. This is quite different from what the usual first generation may think. And therefore, it's ever more important to think about corporate governance and your own brand than the company's activities. However, my friends talked about passion and vision. Another friend talked about implementation. My favorite quote goes without saying is, "Vision without execution is only a hallucination." So we really need to execute, we really need to implement, and we really need to sustain what we already have in hand. And to be able to do that, what makes us different is to understand the environment. Second generation cannot do without IT, cannot do without speed, and cannot do without correct information. The first generation had different challenges. They had difficulties understanding the information or reaching to the information. And now it's so easy for us, as you've talked about the devices, it's only Google. But we have so much information, and to be able to differentiate one information from the other, you really need to know the right customers and the right people. But to do that, you can do that, that's easy. But you need to do that with speed at the right time, and then execute at the right time. So I guess the energy that I bring into the company will be the speed, and will be the means of communication, will be the means of understand the customers, the stakeholder perception, the corporate governance matters. Because if you're transparent, if you're sustainable, and if you're accountable, then it's ever more important for branding and for the sustainability of for the business. So for second generations, we have lots to lose. We have not started from zero. I don't know if I did wish to start from zero, that's another challenge. But to be able to catch up with today's needs, you really need to be fast, understand the environment a lot, and to execute. I guess that would be my input. Thank you.
Let's try to get a broader perspective. I wanted to leave Yavuz Bey to the last word because, I wanted to see what everybody has to say and then try to weather all this as a person who deals with young entrepreneurs every day. What kind of stories do you encounter? Because, as an economist journalist, I know that I have talked about entrepreneurship more in the past few years than ever before because we have turned to them to stimulate the economy, which wasn't going forward with different sorts of measures all around the world, but Turkey seems to have weathered that much better. Do you agree?
Of course, and after this dynamic speech, I think it's my responsibility to talk about the execution of the Turkish entrepreneurs. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my highest regards and greetings to the organization team, and it's an honor to be here. But I would like to express my own feelings in my own language, if you may like. So I will be continuing Turkish. Şimdi tabii Başak Hanım çok önemli tespitlerde bulundu. Hem Türkiye hem dünya ile alakalı genç girişimcilik hususunda %20'ye varan ülkemizde maalesef genç işsizlik problemimiz var. Ve aynı zamanda sıkışıp kaldığımız 10.000 dolarlık bir kişi başına düşen gayrimilli safi hasılamız var. Ve buradan çıkabilmenin tek yolu da inovasyondan, yenileşimden ve genç girişimcilikten geçiyor. Fakat burada tabii ki gelişmekte olan bir ülke olarak maalesef çok fazla engel var önümüzde. Bu engellerin en büyüğü maalesef bankacılık sektöründe yaşanıyor. Ve sermaye erişim hususunda ciddi problemleri var genç girişimcilerin. Çünkü genç girişimcilik başlı başına bir risk. Bu maalesef bizim aşabileceğimiz, genç girişimciler olarak aşabileceğimiz bir şey değil. Ben bu yıl itibariyle 25. yılını doldurmuş MÜSİAD gibi büyük bir iş adamları kuruluşunun gençlik kurumu olarak ne yaptığımızdan biraz bahsetmek istiyorum bu problemlerle mücadele etmek için. Bu sene başında hayata geçirdiğimiz ilk projemiz 24 Çok Geç adı altında bir staj projesiydi, bir tecrübe kazanma projesiydi. Çünkü evet belki sıfırdan başlamadık, aile işlerimize devam ediyoruz biz de Genç MÜSİAD'da birçok üye arkadaşımızla birlikte. Fakat aynı şansı biz tüm gençlere sunmamız gerekiyor. Ben hatırlıyorum lise çağlarında bir sanayi mahallesinde ufak bir dükkanda tamirci çıraklığı yaparak başlamıştım işe. Ama bu çok büyük bir şanstı benim için. Çünkü o günlerde tecrübe kazanmaya başladık. Fakat birçok genç arkadaşımızın bu kadar ufak dahi olsa bir şansı olmuyor. Biz de dedik ki 24 çok geç. 24 bu arada üniversiteden Türkiye'de ortalama mezun olma yaşı. Ve herkes üniversiteden mezun olduktan sonra iş hayatına adım atmaya çalışıyor. Veya staj projeleriyle bir şekilde iş hayatıyla hemhal olmaya başlıyor. Fakat bu maalesef çok geç bir yaş. O yüzden dedik ki hem bunu biraz devletin desteğiyle hem de üye kurumlarımızın desteğiyle genç kardeşlerimize üniversite yıllarının ya da yüksek öğrenim hayatlarının ilk yıllarından itibaren iş alanlarında tecrübe kazanabilecekleri boşluklar açalım. Ve başladık. Ülke genelindeki 44 şubemizle birlikte bu projeyi hayata geçirdik. Tabii ki daha da büyüterek devam edeceğiz inşallah önümüzdeki yıllarda. Yine gençlerin iş hayatına çok daha erken yaşlarda atılabilmesi için ilk girişim adıyla bir proje başlattık. Burada hedef ortaokul ve liseli kardeşlerimizdi. Maalesef girişimcilik 30 yaşından sonra kazanılabilecek bir meziyet değil. Burada onları motive etmek de çok önemli. Çünkü ülkede maalesef bu coğrafyanın bir kaderi var. Bu ülkede hiçbir zaman gündem bitmiyor. Fakat en önemli gündemimiz kesinlikle girişimcilik. Çünkü biz sıkışıp kaldığımız bu ekonomik durumdan kurtulabilmek için sadece bu konuya odaklanmamız lazım. Fakat bugün baktığımızda gençler maalesef çok farklı alanlara doğru yoğunlaşıyorlar. Magazin diyebilirsiniz, spor diyebilirsiniz. Fakat maalesef çok yanlış bir alandalar. Çünkü motive edilmiyorlar. Çünkü o alanda yaptıkları işler popülize edilmiyor. Biz de dedik ki liselerde ve çünkü çok fazla da bu arada genç kardeşimiz var. Bundan emin olabilirsiniz. Çünkü ben liselere ve üniversitelere sürekli konuşmalara gidiyorum ve acayip güzel projeler görüyoruz açıkçası. Bu arkadaşları hem onurlandırmak, hem iltifat etmek onlara, hem de ödüllendirmek için ilk girişim diye bir proje başlattık. Hatta 18-19 Aralık'ta yapacağımız bir kongremizde kendilerini ödüllendireceğiz aynı zamanda. Bir diğer yaptığımız önemli husus, önemli gördüğümüz husus, evet bankalardan belki başlangıç sermayesi anlamında bir kredi alması çok mümkün değil Türkiye'deki genç girişimcilerin. Hem faiz oranlarıyla alakalı hem de bankacılık sisteminin işleyişi anlamında. Fakat bunu da genç girişimciler olarak aşmamız gerekiyor. Diyoruz ya, enerji bizde var, heves bizde ve risk alma kabiliyeti bizde. Bunu nasıl aşabiliriz diye düşündüğümüzde en basit yol ortaklıklar kurmak. Çünkü o paraya bir şekilde ulaşmanız gerekiyor ve bunu sadece ortaklık kurarak yapabilirsiniz. Bu da 3 yıldır yürüttüğümüz bir proje. Sektör kurulları diye bir birimimiz var ve o birimimizde arkadaşlar projelerini getiriyorlar ve onlarla aynı alanda ilgisi olan genç arkadaşlarına bu projelerini aktarıyorlar ve ortaklıklar kuruyorlar. Çünkü gençlerin iş hayatına başlamak için çok da büyük paralara ihtiyacı yok aslında. Bu paralar rahatlıkla 3-4 kişilik ortaklıklar sayesinde toplanabiliyor ve şu an itibariyle isim vermemize gerek yok. İnşaat sektöründe, IT sektöründe, tekstil ve pazarlama sektöründe çok ciddi cirolara ulaşmış firmalarımız var. Hatta çoğu artık çok ünlü organizasyonlara da sponsor oluyorlar. Bu bizi gerçekten çok mutlu ediyor. Özellikle benim için çok önemli olan bu kadar hanımefendinin arasında kalmışken bunu paylaşmakta fayda görüyorum. Beni en çok mutlu eden girişimlerden bir tanesi Şalevi'ydi örneğin. İslami tekstil anlamında imalat yapan ve bunun aynı zamanda internet üzerinden satışını yapan bir firma Şalevi ve 2 tane genç müsiyatlı hanım kardeşimizin kurmuş olduğu bir firma. Ve şu anda gerçekten güzel bir noktaya geldi örneğin. Aynı şekilde tüm girişimleri böyle ortaklıklar kurarak büyütmeye çalışıyoruz. Ve çok şükür güzel de bir noktaya getirmiş vaziyetteyiz. Son olarak yine çok önemli gördüğümüz projelerimizden bir tanesi. Bu da teknolojide kadın eli dediğimiz bir projeydi. Bu sene hayata geçirdiğimiz. Biliyorsunuz maalesef cinsiyet eşitsizliği yine iş hayatının çok önemli problemlerinden bir tanesi. Ve hanımlar hayatlarında, profesyonel hayatlarında nereye konumlanacağını tam olarak açıkçası belirleyemiyorlar. Buna karar veremiyorlar. Çünkü çocukla mı ilgilenecekler, şu evin işleri var. Ama bir yandan profesyonel hayat var, aldıkları bir eğitim var ve onun karşılığında bir şeyler görmek istiyorlar. Biz bunun en güzel yolunun teknolojiden geçtiğini gördük. Ve yine bir hanım girişimci olan sefamerve.com'un aynı zamanda kurucusu olan Oya Hanım'la birlikte bir projeye başlangıç yaptık. Burada da genç hanım kardeşlerimizi girişimciliğe internet üzerinden girişimciliğe yönlendirmeye çalışıyoruz. Böylece evlerinden para kazanma imkanları var. Biliyorsunuz çok popüler bu aralar bu iş ve gerçekten güzel bir alan açıyor gençlere. Sermayesiz başlangıçlara, tabii ki bu daha önemli bir kısmı. Bu projemizde yine dediğim gibi önem verdiğimiz bir projeydi. Ben dinlediğiniz için hepinize teşekkür ediyorum ve tekrar organizasyonu düzenleyen değerli yönetim kurulu arkadaşlara da saygılarımı sunuyorum. Teşekkür ederim.
Biz teşekkür ediyoruz. Let's try to close it as the way we have opened it. Let's turn to Ali one more time and ask him if he's convinced that danger and opportunity can come together for entrepreneurs, just like JFK said.
Well, I think entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. So maintaining a second generation company means that the family have grown up their kids in a business environment where the boy or girl sits on a table and listen to his father or his mother asking for the cash flow table or the LC documentations, or did you get the containers out of the customs? So he is living with these vocabularies. That gives him
a vaccine, a continuous vaccine, a continuous building his entrepreneurial or business muscles. So when he's graduated from his family, he is ready to start his own venture or to start his own business. Unlike the majority, like 99% of others, that they are being raised apart from a business families, being raised with a professor father and maybe a doctor mother, that they have absolutely no clue about buying and selling except when they go to supermarket and pay for their purchases. And they don't live the buying or selling or producing a product, for example. Most of the people that I deal with, I'm heading young entrepreneurs in Saudi Arabia also, and I'm facing entrepreneurs every day coming and crying for funding from the banks. And I told them, no, the banks have the right not to give you money because you are not ready. That's my 99% answer to them. And I always tell them, guys, spend a year with a competitor of yours. If you want a steel, whatever shaping factory or plant, go and work with your future competitor. Learn. Spend a year, spend 2 years with them. Then start. You will not lose anything. Time. Don't try to get things done because you may overcook the meal and burn it. So you tend to lose. Again, I've faced a lot of entrepreneurs who are scared of saying what's in their heads.
Well, our Madame MC is here.
Yeah.
So that means we are running
okay.
out of time briefly. But thank you very much
You're welcome.
to our distinguished members of the panel. And since everyone mentioned the quote, I want to mention a book while we're finishing. It's called Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. He's one of my favorite authors, and he's suggesting that uncertainties should make us stronger. So let's hope that's the energy that we leave here for young entrepreneurs. Thank you very much for listening.
Very much to our speakers, keynote speakers, moderator, and our very dynamic speakers. I feel very inspired by myself. Can I please now kindly invite Mr. Önder Halis Demir, Executive Board Member of International Cooperation Platform, Chair of the Executive Board AOLU, to stage to present the honor of plaque to our presenters and our speakers. Thank you. Linkiydi yalnız. Şöyle değiştirelim hemen. Teşekkür ediyoruz. Buyurun. Thank you very much again to our keynote speakers, and our presenters.